My name's Brandon and this is Nickelodeon Video Game History, a show where I take a look back on all of the video games based on Nickelodeon shows and retrospectively review them. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl is such a frustrating game. It's certainly not a bad game, but I think what makes it so frustrating is a lot of the design decisions and overall focus of the game. If you're somehow following my channel but don't know what Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl is, it's essentially Super Smash Bros but for Nickelodeon. For a while, Nick has been pumping out entries in the Super Brawl franchise on their website and for mobile, but for the first time ever they've brought the crossover fighting fun to consoles and PC. The origins of this dream game seem to be a result of a little game called Slap City. This game was developed by Ludosity and is a platform fighter like Super Smash Bros. Apparently people at Nickelodeon saw this and approached the developer with the idea for All-Star Brawl. That's an extremely promising sign right off the bat for the game. Not only did the developer have experience in making a Smash Bros style game, but it was well received too. I think the biggest relief for me upon booting up the game and playing a few matches was immediately realizing that the gameplay was good. A fighting game lives and dies by this. If the gameplay sucks, it doesn't matter how amazing everything else is. The fighting is so incredibly polished in All-Star Brawl. While other Smash clones have put their own spin on the formula or have had a hard time replicating it, Ludosity has essentially lifted the Smash Bros mechanics and plopped it down here. This is unashamedly a Smash clone, but that's not a problem when the gameplay is spot on. Anybody familiar with the genre will be right at home here from the very first fight. The different types of attacks, grabs, recovery moves, it's all pretty much identical. I think one thing Ludosity really should be commended for is how they've made pretty much every character a joy to play. It was incredibly rare that I spent time with a character and felt like I never wanted to use them again. I think the key to this is that characters always have at least one unique gimmick that makes them a blast to play with, even if they don't completely mesh with your style or you haven't grasped how to effectively use them. For example, Zim is low on my list of favourite characters to use here, however, causing havoc with his Gur attack was a blast. Having a roster that has been so well designed gives a party game like this such longevity. I remember how many hours I sunk into Smash Bros Brawl as a teen, purely because it was fun to just click random on the character select screen and have to deal with a brand new character. Whether I'm roping in opponents with Sandy's lasso or unleashing an all-out assault with Leonardo's swords, there's enjoyment on every end of the spectrum with this game's roster. While all of that makes this game seem like it would be a party favourite, there are other aspects of the gameplay that contradict this in a big way. One glaring omission from the Smash formula is items. Smash purists and competitive players turn these off, but for the majority of players, these are part of what makes the game so fun. The chaos of the items allows a group of friends with wildly different skill levels to have a more even playing field, but here it's just a straight man-to-man fight almost all of the time. This is honestly baffling to me. It's like if Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2 decided to be a pure racing game instead of including a plethora of items to throw at other races. It gets even stranger when you consider that some stages have hazards or crazy gimmicks in them that you would typically expect to see in a Smash Bros game. Removing the items seems like a deliberate decision to make the game more competitive focused, but when you see stages that have such blatant and gimmicky hazards, I'm left dreaming about a version of the game that fully embraces the party side of things. So you get it, the gameplay is pretty much just Smash Bros. Smash Bros Melee to be exact. Clearly the devs were big fans of the frenetic pacing of the GameCube installment, which is why you see stuff like wave dashing here. But Smash Bros games since Melee have focused on a lot more than just fighting against your friends, with plenty of unique single player content on offer. Sure, the OG Nintendo 64 game was pretty bare bones, but Melee had Adventure Mode, Brawl had Subspace Emissary, and Ultimate had World of Light. Outside of these mega single player modes, there are plenty of other fun single player options. In All-Star Brawl, single player fun is slim pickings. Obviously there's the battle option, which is where you'll set up single player fights against friends or the AI, being able to customize just about everything when it comes to rules. You've got team fights, a training mode, and something called Sports Ball. This is a unique game mode that is focused on teams scoring goals rather than killing opponents. The more times the ball is struck without hitting the ground before going into the goal, the greater your score will be. This is all pretty neat, but not something you'll be spending much time with if you're playing on your own. Naturally, you can jump online, taking pretty much all of those offline modes to the internet to take on random kids from around the world that will no doubt school your ass. The main feature of All-Star Brawl's single player experience is arcade mode. If you're familiar with platform fighters or just fighters in general, you'll know exactly what this is. Here you'll pick a fighter, a difficulty option, and then smash your way through 7 stages, with the goal being to basically see how fast you can clear it. This is a staple of fighting games and was a perfectly fine centerpiece for single player, back in 1999. It's so laughably basic. The only kind of interesting thing present in the mode is that a few times throughout you get to pick between 2 characters to face on the next stage. Outside of that, it's just a bit boring. There's not even the added bonus of having a boss battle at the end the way Smash or PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale did. At the end of the day, I was left wondering why anybody would even bother with this mode other than trying to grind out the game's platinum trophy. You want a cool crossover story? Too bad. You'll get a boring 2-sentence text exchange before each match and you'll be happy about it. This dialogue isn't even the characters talking to one another. It's just one of like 3 lines each character has. I played through the entire arcade mode with every character and it only took a handful of runs for this to start getting tiresome. Levels and characters quickly become repetitive, and the absence of items and the fact every fight is 1v1 wore thin. The stages being repetitive was particularly weird. I swear the arcade mode is glitched, because some stages I would see basically every playthrough, while there were numerous stages I rarely ever saw. All of this ultimately culminates in a supremely disappointing single player experience. One of the things I love most about Smash is that it has something for players who don't have a bunch of local friends to play with and aren't able to compete strongly online. I fall into this category, yet still buy Smash every single time because I know there's going to be a robust single player suite. I have literally never played Smash Ultimate online or with friends, yet I've still had an unbelievably enjoyable time with it. If you're on the fence about purchasing All-Star Brawl, I'd highly recommend asking yourself why you'd be buying the game. Are you keen to jump online and try to compete with the best of the best? If so, buy this game, the gameplay is top notch. Do you have a group of local friends to brawl with? If so, I'd recommend the game too, even if it's lacking some of the best party elements. But if you're not planning to capitalize on those 2 things and you're looking for a single player gameplay suite, well, there's not much here for you. It's in areas like this where I genuinely believe Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2 is a more well-rounded game. Not only did that game have a robust online and multiplayer section, but there were also plenty of things to experience solo. Heck, there's not even anything for players to unlock here. Every character and stage is available from the beginning, and there are no hidden secrets for you to discover. Your only reward for doing anything in single player is a bunch of art and character models in the game's gallery when you beat arcade mode. The strangest thing is that all of these omissions when it comes to single player and the party elements of the game appear to be deliberate. For better or for worse, Ludosity have designed this game with competitive play as their priority. Prior to releasing the game, one of the devs was quoted as saying, "The game was designed with competitive play in mind from its inception, with Ludosity seeking to simplify the controls for newer players without sacrificing the gameplay depth sought by competitive players." I think they 100% achieved that goal. The game is pretty easy to pick up, especially so if you have ever played Smash before, but will be tough to master. What the real problem is that Ludosity focused way too much on competitive play. A perfect example of this is that there isn't a proper tutorial in the game that teaches you its many mechanics. There's a how to play section that is literally just a 29 slide PowerPoint presentation. It's clear to me that Ludosity decided they were making a game to cater to the hardest of hardcore Smash players, so why would you include a proper tutorial? These players don't need one. The removal of items? A no-brainer. The intellectual Smash purist wouldn't be caught dead playing with items on. A single player story? What's the point? You don't make it to Evo by playing through World of Light like a peasant. Having to unlock characters? Why would you do that? I need to use my main right away. Ludosity caters to the smallest minority of Smash players, and the game is so much worse for it. While I mentioned that some stages feature hazards, they are few and far between. Most of the levels are just a basic flat plane with maybe a platform or 2 if you're lucky. By my count, literally half of the stages in this game are some variation of Final Destination or Battlefield, which makes for a boring fighting experience. Making sure your stages are esports ready isn't the worst thing in the world, but when the game only has 20 stages, making half of them boring is a huge problem. It's an especially baffling decision when Smash Bros already solved this problem anyway. Smash 4 and Ultimate have Omega stages. These are variants of the regular stages which make them a flat plane and tournament ready, without sacrificing the overall gameplay experience. It's strange that Ludosity would take so much inspiration from Smash and be so competitive focused, yet ignore this game-changing option that made Smash the most competitive friendly it's ever been. But now I've come to the biggest elephant in the room. All-Star Brawl fares great in the gameplay and poorly in gameplay options. How does it handle the crossover nature of it all? In my personal opinion, it's substandard. Not horrible like Nickelodeon Kart Racers 1 is, but still far from ideal. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl's base game roster features 20 characters from 13 shows. At a glance, this is 6 less characters than Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion XL, a game that is over 10 years old. All-Star Brawl does cover more shows here though, so I'll give them credit for that. The roster just feels so light. It only has one more character than PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale did at launch, and that game was panned for having a bare bones roster. However, I did say every character on the roster feels great to use. No doubt focusing on just 20 characters allowed them to tweak it to perfection. The bigger issue I have is that they make some baffling choices for the roster. First of all, 45% of the roster is taken up by characters from just 3 franchises. TMNT, SpongeBob and Avatar all get 3 reps, taking a sizable chunk out of the roster. Rugrats is represented, but by Reptar, not by any of the babies who are infinitely more iconic. I initially assumed this was probably a mandate from Nick. Would make sense they don't want babies being beat up in a game, but it was pointed out to me that they have appeared in other Nick Brawl games, so that's not likely to be the case. Similarly, Hey Arnold is represented but by Helga, not, Arnold. Then you've got iconic shows such as Rocko's Modern Life, Fairly Odd Parents and Jimmy Neutron that are absent entirely. I think All-Star Brawl massively fails as a celebration of Nickelodeon. They kept the roster small but clogged it up with overrepresenting a few shows and bizarre character choices from others. Naturally, because the roster couldn't even fit a bunch of iconic shows and characters, there was no hope for cult favourites like Angry Beavers or Rocket Power appearing. These less popular characters are what make crossover games so damn fun. I love playing Smash because there are pop culture icons like Mario and Pikachu fighting alongside Ice Climbers, Mr. Game & Watch and Pip. At the end of the day, it's the celebration of all things Nintendo that makes Smash beloved. Everything else is secondary. Just including the most popular franchises makes this less of a celebration of Nickelodeon as a whole, and more just a circle jerk of the iconic shows, many of which still get their own video games. Having 3 reps from SpongeBob and TMNT each is lame when we are constantly getting new dedicated games for those franchises. Literally, both of those franchises have new games currently in the works. I would have gladly removed one of the Turtles, Sandy and Toph in favour of 3 reps from the shows that entirely missed out. Apparently 2 DLC fighters are coming within the first month or so, which basically shows they were intended for the base game but couldn't be completed in time. I would be very surprised if they weren't Timmy and Jimmy, but considering some of the game's roster choices, who knows. The developers have stated they have plans for DLC in the future, but I'm not confident we'll ever get that. This game will need to sell well for Nickelodeon and the game's publisher to keep dumping money into it, and I'm not sure it'll be popular enough to do so, especially considering it's releasing at the busiest time of year for video games. Even then, the game needs like half a dozen DLC characters just to cover all of the obvious omissions, so basically none of the cult favourites have any chance of appearing in this game. The same criticism can be lobbed at the stages. There are 20 of these, 6 less than in Punch Time Explosion XL. Hell, the 3DS version of that game had 21. You can't even claim they focused on quality over quantity with the stages either, because half of them are almost a cut and paste job. And obviously the final nail in the coffin, which has already been mentioned, there's no cool crossover story to be found here. The overall presentation of All-Star Brawl is heavily inspired by Smash. almost to an even greater degree than the gameplay. It almost goes too far with it. It's not so much inspiration as it is copyright infringement. There are legitimately dozens of design elements that feel like they were lifted directly from Smash. It almost makes the game not have its own identity. Stuff like menu design isn't a crucial part of the experience, so why lift it directly from the game you're inspired by? It's just unnecessary. Come up with something unique and fresh. What I do love is that the game is filled with plenty of references when it comes to the moves, animations, and taunts. This is what I wanted from the game. Most movesets, especially for the characters that aren't natural fighters, are filled to the brim with callbacks to iconic moments from their respective shows. You've got plenty of memes referenced with the SpongeBob characters and stuff like CatDog busting out the golden hydrant. It's great to see. Victory screens are full of this stuff too, and then you've got the taunts. Practically all of these are great references. This is the one area where Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl feels like a celebration of Nickelodeon. But it ends there. It's not something that bothers me personally, but characters aren't voiced here. Having reviewed Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2 though, I'm fully aware of the vocal fanbase that want this. Even as somebody who isn't fazed by having no voices, I must admit it was rather odd here. I think it's because the game doesn't have any items to add extra sound effects and chaos. In Nick Kart Racers, you have the soundtrack and the items and general race chaos which distracts from not having voice acting. In All-Star Brawl, you basically just have the background music playing. Characters don't make any sound whatsoever, and it creates a little bit of an awkward vibe. The soundtrack is actually superb, but it can't really make up for this absence. If voice acting is a deal breaker for you, you'll hate this game. The final thing I wanted to mention was alternate costumes. They don't exist here. This seems like an easy way to make more references and further strengthen the celebration of Nickelodeon, but they're bizarrely absent. Even from a pure gameplay perspective, it's strange. Any fight featuring more than one of the same character gets confusing quickly. I'm caught in two minds about Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. On one hand, it plays superbly. This has definitely overtaken PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale as my favourite non-Smash platform fighter. This is the most accurate recreation of Smash Bros gameplay I've ever seen. At times you would genuinely think they have slapped a Nickelodeon skin on Smash Ultimate. When it comes to pure gameplay and fighting mechanics, All-Star Brawl can't be faulted. But outside of that, I think the game fails in pretty much every area. The party game vibe, non-existent. The complete removal of items and intense competitive focus has removed many of the over-the-top elements you'd see in Smash. These things are what make local Smash games with friends so much fun. Is it a celebration of Nickelodeon? Not really. A sizable number of iconic characters are missing, and just on a pure numbers basis, the game can't even compete with platform fighters released in the PS3 360 Wii era. The moves and taunts being almost entirely references to the shows was a great touch and a step in the right direction, but no cool story mode combined with the unfulfilling roster makes it fall flat. Most importantly, there's just not a whole lot to do in this game. I can see All-Star Brawl falling off very quickly. It's got local play, online play, and arcade mode, and that's about it. Ludosity were just too focused on being a competitive esports title in my opinion. The companies involved in making this game were clearly aware of this focus too. Go look at their marketing, it was a deliberate choice. In the days leading up to release, it was entirely focused on drawing in Smash competitive players. Reviewers only got sent review code for the game hours before the game was released in North America. Due to time zones, I got the game about half a day earlier than North Americans. This also meant I technically got the game before reviewers too. The developers creating this game seem less interested in actually making a Nickelodeon Smash, and more on making a game that will be picked up as an esport. It's like they're purely leveraging the hype a Nickelodeon Smash clone would generate in an attempt to break into the competitive space. It just all feels a little confused. They've made a game for Smash Bros purists based on Nickelodeon that just inherently seems like a disconnect. They completely missed the point of what makes Smash Bros fun to a wide audience. I don't think they realised that the crazy, hardcore esports audience of Smash are the tiniest minority. Ultimately, I think this is a very competent fighter that is nearly completely devoid of soul. It doesn't have that special essence that makes Smash such a magical franchise that transcends time. Congratulations, you were able to recreate the Smash fighting mechanics really well. What else? So much of what makes Smash special has nothing to do with the actual fighting. If you're looking for that fun multiplayer party experience that Smash provides, you'll probably be disappointed here, at least a little. If you're just looking for a new fighting game esports title to pick up, you'll probably love this. Next time I'll be reviewing the holy grail of all Nickelodeon games, Battle for Bikini Bottom. It's held as the gold standard even to this day, and it received a remake not too long ago. Can it live up to the hype, and is it truly better than everything else we've looked at so far? Make sure you subscribe to find out.